And good afternoon. It is 2 p.m. here on Friday, October 16th. We are less than 3 weeks till the big election day, and What's Up Newp is spending this week catching up with some of the races. And we have today been focused on the Portsmouth Town Council race. Later on this afternoon, we'll be jumping back over to Middletown Town Council, speaking with some candidates. And then tomorrow we'll be joined by a couple more Portsmouth Town Council candidates. So trying to bring you as much information and serving as a platform. Many candidates can't go door to door this election season. Some still are, but many are, due to COVID, are choosing not to go door to door. So here's a way to meet the candidates, and here's a way to get to know them and find out more about them. And joining us today is Keith Hamilton from Portsmouth Town Council. How are you?
I'm doing great, Ryan. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. And you are currently on Portsmouth Town Council, but as I put it, there are people that are voting for the very first time in Portsmouth. There are people that just moved to Portsmouth voting for the first time in Portsmouth. So why don't you give us a little bit of a background of who Keith Hamilton is?
Great. No problem. So I've lived in Portsmouth. I'm not a native, but I've been here for 49 of my 51 years. I have two great kids. My daughter, Isabel, who's, because of COVID, living here with me, working. She just graduated from Bryant University, but she's working from home with me here at the house. And a son, Brian, who is a sophomore over at URI. And he lives actually down in Newport right now because anybody from Rhode Island who wasn't a freshman over at URI, they kicked off campus in July. So he had to find a place. So he's in Newport working and also doing football at URI and hopefully classes. I've been on the council since 2008. I've enjoyed my time doing it. It's a very worthwhile profession if people want to come out and help out. I love the town of Portsmouth. I like to try and keep it the nice rural community that it is, with great schools and wonderful people, and that's why I continue to run.
All right. So you kind of answered my question on what goes through your mind when you choose to seek re-election, but you just enjoy it and want to keep doing it.
I do. You hear some of those horror stories of people, getting called all hours of the night and, getting stopped in Clements Market. But, I enjoy that. I want to hear from people. I want to hear what's concerning them so that if we can fix their issues, we do.
One of the things I was surprised about when I dove in and started learning about how Portsmouth operates is, first of all, you have 12 candidates running in Newport, had 12 candidates running in Newport. You had 18 in Middletown. You have 8 running for 7 seats in Portsmouth. As I put it this morning, talking with one of your colleagues, is that testament that how great of a job Portsmouth Town Council is doing? Or are people... Or is there another reason on why there's not a whole slate of candidates like some other Quinnipiac Island communities?
I would hope that it's a testament to that we're doing a good job and people are relatively happy with it. But I think there's a whole lot of things. Obviously, COVID has turned this world upside down. The fact that one of the hard parts about running for election is that you have to really sign up early. You have to make a decision in the middle of June that you want to do this. So it becomes kind of a stumbling block for new people to get in. I think there's some, on my end, as you mentioned, there's 8 of us running for 7 spots. There's 7 Democrats and me, the lone Republican. I think some of the national politics may have played into it, which I disagree with. I think I was one of the votes to forward on to our charter review, which we have 13 questions on there this year. I would like to have seen us put on nonpartisan elections like other communities have in the area. I think that would allow us to bring out more people to be able to vote. We have fantastic people who work over on a Navy base or who are federally funded through their job and can't run. So I think there's some limiting factors that we have that other communities don't. And I would like to see those barriers taken down. Unfortunately, we can't do that for another 10 years.
Wow. So we'll take another 10 years before you can change that part of the charter.
Yeah. Every time our charter review was every 10 years. If a council came along and decided that they wanted to put a ballot question on there to make it nonpartisan, technically they could, but typically we run it through the Charter Review Commission.
And just to clarify, and correct me if I'm wrong, please. the reason some of those people who are involved with the Navy or government positions cannot run in Portsmouth for office is because there's party affiliation associated. And it would be a violation of the Hatch Act.
Correct.
All right, there we go.
They can't run in a partisan election, but they could be appointed. So if an individual stepped down from a school committee or the town council here in Portsmouth, you could appoint somebody who works at the federal government level, but they can't run in a partisan election.
Excellent. What do you see, in the next 2 years in the upcoming term, some of the priorities there are out there for Portsmouth?
Well, to me, the first and foremost priority is always trying to keep the tax rate as low as possible. Unfortunately, in Portsmouth, we kind of are limited with state funding. For the past 10 years, our school funding has been cut about $200,000 to $300,000 every year that the taxpayers have to make up. That ended this year. So hopefully the new funding formula that will come out, hopefully maybe next spring or maybe next summer, doesn't cut into that further. I am concerned that because of the current budget situation or lack of budget at the State House, that there could be more cuts that we're going to have to make up on the school side. That is a kind of one of those blessings and a curse thing. Because we are so non-reliant on state funding, we're not hurt as much during these COVID crises, but it still lays a lot of extra burden on our taxpayers. Other things that are up there is continuing our road improvement. We started a great, robust road improvement program that started back in 2013. We've paved miles and miles of roads to help bring them up to current standards that hopefully will last the next 20, 30, 40 years. We have a senior center that is set to be closed come June 30th of next year. So we have to try and work to find a new home, and we're doing that now, trying to find a temporary and also a long-term solution. We have other issues in town because of the infamous cold winter and the national gas shortage down in Newport. We have a temporary facility that gets stepped up every year about this time on Old Mill Lane, which is very unnerving for most people who live down there. So we need to work with Newport, Middletown, and the Navy to try and find and National Grid, obviously, to try and find a permanent solution that doesn't have super tankers in people's backyards. And other than that, it's working cooperatively with town council and the school committee to formulate good, solid budgets while continuing to create the school environment that we want, to have the great fire and police departments that we have, and all keeping that within, for me, no more than a 2% increase every year.
You mentioned schools a couple times there, and I'm just wondering, all the way up on that part of the island, looking to the south, one of the reasons I've heard from many candidates is many are running in both Newport and Middletown because of all of the school drama, I'll call it, with the talks of regionalization, talks of unification. Up there in Portsmouth, as a I can't call you a native, but as a proud Portsmouth resident, as well as a father of kids who have gone through the school system, you think Portsmouth should get involved in any of those talks if they move on? Have you thought much about everything that's happening with the question 2 in Newport, with the regionalization push in Middletown? Any thoughts there?
Oh, I have lots of thoughts on school regionalization. I've met with folks in Middletown and in Newport. When I first started, I would, occasionally sit down and have a beer with Ed Silvera, who's no longer on the Middletown Town Council, and then Justin McLaughlin, who's now getting off the Newport and he's decided not to run again, and discuss things like this. In terms of school regionalization, the people of Portsmouth have spoken pretty loudly that they're not interested in it because they're afraid of taking on extra burden in terms of dollars when it comes to regionalizing schools. My thought process over the past 4 or 5 years is that it would be a great idea to regionalize the entire, and we currently are a regionalized system because we take on Little Compton high school students. I would think that Newport County would be served best if we had a Newport County High School South and a Newport County High School North, and then a great vocational high school. We have a lot of young men and women who aren't going to go to college, and they're going to go out and find a job in the trades, whether it be a plumber, an electrician, or look at Newport. I mean, how many restaurants do we have in Newport, Middletown, and Portsmouth? Maybe it'll be a culinary student. I think we should seriously consider regionalizing both Middletown, Newport, kind of Portsmouth south to Newport, Tiverton, Little Compton, and Portsmouth north, and then build ourselves a great school for the culinary arts vocational school.
Excellent. Keith, obviously you want people to fill in the dot next to your name whenever they vote between now and November 3rd. When people flip over that ballot and see the 13 questions, is there anything that you want them to know about any of those questions, or any information, or, have any thoughts on why they should vote one way or another on any of them?
No, for the most part, those questions are housekeeping. The big one change is going from 5 years experience to 10 years experience for the fire chief, which I think is a good thing. I would want the folks to know that the reason that there isn't a question on there is because our Democratic majority decided that they didn't want to have a partisan question on there. It was brought out of committee and then voted down by the current council majority.
And it's good to know. Obviously, all the meetings are public, and people can go back and watch any of those conversations if they wish, right on the Portsmouth website. What other things do you want people to know about your candidacy, or about the issues that you're hearing about from voters and taxpayers?
I think the biggest thing for me is that if a vote for me, hopefully, is a vote for common sense and well thought out, reasoned decision making. I am open to anybody who wants to call, talk, meet for a coffee. I think for the most part, the town runs very well. We have a great police chief. We have a great fire chief. We have a great DPW department. Our town administrator and all the staff at town hall do a fantastic job. So the day-to-day stuff gets done very, very well. It's the long-term planning. It's making sure that when we're looking at, here in town, we started last year with a $100 million possible bond question for upgrading of schools. Then it got whittled down to $65 million. Even that's too much. So we need to work together cooperatively with the schools to find a good solution to get our schools into the 21st century, if you were, without doing it in a way that hamstrings us in the future from doing other things. So if we were to do an roughly $80 million bond to repair the schools as was presented earlier this year, we would be stuck for the next 15 or 20 years in terms of doing other work around town. And there's a lot of other things that needs to be done. The town hall needs to be upgraded. The fire department, when you talk about regionalization, I would love to see regionalization with Middletown and be able to have a small fire station on the west side of Portsmouth, west-south side of Portsmouth, and the west side from Middletown, where we could decrease our response times. So there's a lot of things that we could be doing, but we always have to be cognizant that we're in a time that nobody's been in our lifetime. We have a very high unemployment rate. People aren't sure where their next paycheck's going to come from. So to be irresponsible and raising taxes any more than we have to is completely against what I believe in.
What are, and you could do a recent one, or if you want, or maybe the most proud, but, since you've been on the council, what are you most proud about? What are some of the biggest accomplishments, or, when you go to bed at night, what do you think about, what you've accomplished on Portsmouth Town Council, and, one of your favorite moments?
I think my favorite moment, well, there's a few. I mean, we had a great 375th celebration a few years back. That was a lot of fun to really celebrate the town of Portsmouth and the fact that we've been around since 1638. One of my favorite purchases was the Mount Hope Park that's underneath the Mount Hope Bridge. We stopped that from being developed, and we're working that to make a nice, beautiful waterfront park. I love going down there at night and seeing how many people are down there fishing, just catching a sunset, reading a book, taking the dogs for a walk. So that's a proud thing. Back in 2013, when we started the road paving program, that was, one of the big things was always the road conditions. And now that we're fixing that, it's good to drive down nice, solid roads. And then being an open voice and being approachable and working with people. And I do love the job, and I like working with the people of the town of Portsmouth.
And looking at the numbers as of 1 p.m., 623 people have voted early in Portsmouth. So Portsmouth is the most active voting population so far on Aquidneck Island, 581 in person at Town Hall and 42 by mail. And just a reminder that Portsmouth Town Hall is open for early voting. It's open Monday through Friday. Check the website for hours because, for example, on Thursdays, they're open until 6:30. So varying hours for people to go in and vote early if they're not doing it by mail ballot or if they're not doing it on November 3rd. So it looks like we hopefully, fingers crossed, see a good old big turnout in Portsmouth.
I hope so. I hope everybody gets out and whichever way they can do it. If it's doing mail ballots, the drop box, if you don't, with all the hysteria about the post office, if you don't feel comfortable in the post office right now, you can drop it right at Town Hall, and it's set by the south entrance. Town Hall is open every day from 8 to 4:30, except for with the exception of Thursday, which is 6:30, and then on Fridays it closes at 2:30. So you got about 13 minutes to get to Town Hall if you want to vote today.
There you go. One of the things when I was interviewing local reps and senators that are running for office, the safety of East Main Road kept coming up, and I have to ask Portsmouth Town Council members, obviously they are state roads, so I know not all lands on your shoulders, but some thoughts on how to make East Main, West Main, the crossroads that run between them safer. What are some of the things you're working on there?
Well, fortunately, over the past 4 or 5 years or so, we've developed a much better relationship with RIDOT. Mr. Alviti has done a very good job of being open to questions, suggestions, working with the town to get things fixed. East Main Road has been a headache since 1975 when it was promised to be widened and repaved. We're currently on track to have it repaved and some safety improvements done, but that doesn't come until 2024. I would like to see us to continue to work with DOT and our state reps and senators to see if we can't push that forward to 2022, hopefully sooner. We've worked in the past, if you drove up and down East Main Road 4 years ago, you noticed a lot of frost heaves and bumps. We at least got DOT to come in and shave those down so you weren't dropping your rear end every time you went across one of those bumps. In terms of long-term solution, it's going to be a lot of money. If, we've talked about in the past, we have a safety audit, but to move telephone poles, underground utilities, we're talking about easements to widen the road. So it's a pretty large expense just for the stretch of Portsmouth from the Middletown Town Line up to Clements. You're looking roughly about the $30 million mark. Wow. Just to widen a little bit and underground utilities. So it's a lot of money. The state would be happy to do it if we paid for it. We can't pay for it. So we need to work with Middletown too. So it goes through two communities. We got to make sure that what's done on one side is done on the other, so that's a nice continuous road.
Keith, final question here. I don't want to keep you too long, but when people are filling in the dots whenever they go to vote, why should they vote to keep you there on the council?
Well, I hope that they've liked the job that I've done in the past 12 years or so. I hope that they find that I'm approachable and that I'm able to answer questions and I give reasoned thought to our decisions and aren't just going up there and making decisions based on party politics. And I'm just hoping to serve for another 2 years. And if the voters see fit that I'm able to be there for another 2 years, I'm happy to do it. I do have the fortunate, again, because I'm the only Republican running, and the state in June flips a coin and says whether the Republicans are first or Democrats are first on the list. This year, the Republicans won, and I'm first on the list. So I'm hoping that adds to a few votes as well.
All right. And how can people get a hold of you if they don't already know, if they want to share ideas, ask you a question or anything like that?
So I have a Facebook page. It says Keith Hamilton on Facebook. People can email me at keithhamilton@cox.net, or they can call me on my cell phone at 401-480-6648.
Awesome. Well, we wish you the very best of luck here in the coming weeks. It's almost over, November 3rd. People are casting their ballots, and we thank you for spending some time with us and wish you the very best of luck.
And I hope people continue to cast those ballots and do it safely and in whichever way works best for them.
All right.
Thanks, Ron. I appreciate the opportunity.
See you around town.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. So that is Keith Hamilton, and he is running Portsmouth Town Council. He currently sits on Portsmouth Town Council, and you will see him at those meetings, and you will see him at number 1 on the ballot in Portsmouth. I want to thank Keith for joining us again. Share this video if you know Portsmouth voters, if you have friends, family. We are interviewing almost every single candidate for Portsmouth. You can find them all right on whatsupnewp.com. Thanks for watching.